This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the April 13th meeting of KFNA, the Kingfield Neighborhood Board of Directors. It is 7:05 right now. Kicking off the meeting. Have a good agenda here. Do some staff updates for kind of the first half of the meeting. Kind of catch up on some stuff that we've been pushing off to talk about. So Sarah will have a good chunk of the meeting up here in the front, and then kind of take a big discussion about merger, maybe is the best way to say it, or kind of our plans going forward, what we look like as an organization going forward, both in terms of financially, as we've talked about this with in the past, around how we sustain ourselves as an organization going into the future. So have kind of some break off into probably two small groups to kind of have that discussion for a good kind of middle of the meeting, and then closing off with some updates specifically from strategic planning and recruitment, as well as, I'm guessing, fundraising, and I think a little bit from redevelopment. So that's what we're looking like for today. I'll open up the meeting by opening up the community forum. As I always say, we are all community members. There are no specific non-board community members here right now, but if anyone would like to share anything for the board, now would be a good time to do it. Seeing none, I will move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, which would be the minutes of our last board meeting and the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Anything else?
Yep, I'll second.
Any discussion on either of those items? Okay, all in favor, aye, thumbs up, yes in the chat.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions. Great. I will kick it over right away to Sarah to check off or kind of start on the long list of staff update items. Go ahead, Sarah. You're muted, Sarah.
I am still on mute. You think I would have learned. Thank you. I'm going to take these out of order that they're listed here. A couple are going to demand some feedback, so I just want to tackle those first. There was a list of accomplishments that was in the board packet. This is our typical annual letter that we will present at the annual meeting of what KFNA did in the past year. It also is something that we submit as, hold on, I'm letting David Robinson. It's also something that we submit to the city as an attachment to the community participation funding year closeout. And so I want to make sure everyone has a couple of minutes to look that list over and see if there is anything on there or see if there's anything that you feel is missing that should be called out of the work that KFNA did in the past year. So if we could tackle that first, that would be great. Do people need me to put a link directly to that? How about anyone raise your hand if you need a direct link and you don't have access to it right now?
I just added it, Sarah. It's in
Perfect.
the chat.
Thank you, Sarah. So just to open this up again, a lot of these activities feel like a long time ago. They were only a year ago. But with our annual meeting falling in April, we're talking about things that happened, often a year and a half ago. Are there items that you feel are missing that should be called out on this report? And also to that question, I believe that the annual meeting is going to look for 2 to 3 people and 2 to 3 items on this list to be talked to the community about. So if there's something in here that you were involved in that you feel very passionate about, if you can also offer yourself to present at the annual meeting, which will be Saturday, May 14th from 1:30 to 3 at Butter Bakery, that would be great. And we'll take care of both of those at once. So I'll open up the floor to you guys for comments.
I just threw it on the side of this document, Sarah, but and maybe this was 20, was this 20? I don't know. All this runs together. Was this 2020? Was that event that we held with Raquel and Riza and all the other folks at MLK? Was that in 2021 or was that 2020?
I don't remember.
Maybe we could
Well,
just look at
the park event, the park resource fair.
I think that was
Correct.
2020.
That was 2020.
Okay.
2020 is when we had unhoused neighbors in the park.
Okay. I know that, and that went through, the fall of 20.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll delete that comment.
Did we mention the survey of the neighborhood to the strategic planning did to see what the feeling of our neighbors are about what we should be doing?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to call that out specifically, Alice. The survey, outreach at
Yeah.
the farmer's market, door knocking.
Yeah, we did outreach at the farmers market and door knocking, yes. All of that outreach.
It's kind of up there in bullet number 4,
Okay.
but I don't think it's called, I'm only looking at half my screen. I don't know that we call it
Yeah, that's true.
part of strategic planning, which I think is a good call out.
I just added a bullet point in the bottom, Sarah, just
Yeah.
quickly for reference.
Sarah's mentioning election forums not being talked about. We talk about a polling party, but I think you're right.
No, the election forums aren't there. That's a
The
good point.
joint neighborhood, and I think calling them the joint neighborhood park board and
Yeah.
Josh, what were they? Park board and
Charter amendments.
charter amendment forums.
Sarah, a general question was this cross-listed with like end of the year fundraising letter? Because I know that letter specifically highlighted community safety. And so it seems to me like Lighted Up Kingfield, for example, could be pulled out or emphasized more as a community safety event. Also, any of the meetings that you did with the blocks talking about safety strategies, that might be part of a separate bullet point on that as well.
I think it's sort of in bullet number 2, but it's not called out as strongly with the words that we were using in our end of the year community safety campaign.
Yep, that's a good point.
I would like to change aesthetically pleasing to design to well designed.
It's fine. Change it. Okay. So what I will do is rewrite. This is due on Friday. I will read through this again. I will look at the comments. I will look at the edits. I'll do a final draft, and it will go in as an addendum to our absolutely final CPP report for the last 10 years. Are there any items on here that people are interested in presenting about the work that KFNA does at the annual meeting? Thank you, L'Oreal. I'll add in the garden tool swap. I thought it was in here, but maybe it wasn't. I have to admit the years are blending. Okay, so if no one's jumping at presentations for the annual meeting, we'll take that up as when we talk about the annual meeting in the agenda. I'm sorry, Sarah, what's your comment?
Virgil could be added because those were also in 2021.
Didn't the Bridgel stop?
They started back up with the trial.
Yep.
Okay.
And did we have more than one polling party in 2021?
No, I don't think, actually that's a Josh question. Was there a,
There was only one election in 21.
Yeah.
There's no primary.
it was just
for
in
municipal
November.
Because rechoice.
right?
Got it.
Awesome. Thank you. If there's other things that you think of, dump them in as a comment so I make sure to see them. And I will work on this again tomorrow morning. So a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. There is a letter that was also put into the board packet. It was just sent to me a couple days ago about the board signing on a resolution to develop a strategy or a policy, I believe, that the city should have a strategy around how they deal with encampments. It was sent to us from a neighbor, and so I had dumped it in community forum and it just got moved here. I'm wondering if people want to take a minute or two to read the encampment resolution draft in the packet. And if the board wants to support that, or if they need another month before they commit to that. And the link to that letter from the neighbor is in the chat.
Sarah, can you also clarify that this letter has currently already gone downtown?
Yes, it has already been submitted. So at this point, it's a more sort of like we're going to look for other neighborhoods to sign on, but it's not waiting for organizations to sign on to support before it moves forward. So I know it's faster than the board likes to approve items, so I don't know what you're comfortable with on this time frame.
So just to clarify, we could take a vote tonight to sign on to the letter, correct? And we have quorum to be able to do that. Okay.
Correct. So I would recommend, if people have had a chance to read, that either someone move to have the board sign on to this, or someone move to put this off until next month at this point.
I'll make
I
a
would move
motion. Jerome, were you saying something?
No, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just gonna say that I would make a motion for us to sign on.
I would second that motion.
Great. Any discussion around this? I will just say quickly that this is a very a very well written letter that I think encompasses a lot of feelings that I think, at least that I've had around homelessness and support for folks that we've seen in our community at MLK. I think one of the biggest things that I heard from the folks who were on the ground at MLK now, which seems like last year, but now I'm learning was almost 2 years ago, was the lack of support on a governmental, on an organizational level, where they kind of felt like they were out there, not really knowing what to do and trying to thread all of these systems together. And they were just neighbors trying to do that with cell phones in the park, navigating these complex systems. And I think it should be our expectation as residents of Minneapolis that the city and our other government agencies are able to provide the resources and the processes and the systems that are being asked for here in this letter. So I would be in support of this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll just add that I think that this is very clearly a neighborhood issue to me. This, having unhoused neighbors in the park was very much impacted our neighborhood. People that are living there are our neighbors. And I really appreciate that this letter talks about a public health approach and a dignified approach to creating policies. And so, I think this is a good step forward that we can advocate for something like that within the city.
I think the letter falls short, frankly. I think it's fine in a general sense, but I think it really, I don't know. I wish it was more concrete and it made like concrete proposals as opposed to making aspirational statements. So I think it's by and large just basically an invitation for the city to partner with neighborhood associations to solve a problem nobody has funding for. I think that's fine, but I just wish there was like specifics, like concrete specifics in there that I understood like were actionable, and I don't see it.
Any other comments or discussion on this? Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say anyone can move to call the question and close discussion and take a vote.
I would ask Sarah, do you know, I see that there's 5 neighborhoods on here right now. Have you gotten any updates? There are additional neighborhoods who have signed on to this since
No.
this was started?
The first I heard about this was a couple of days ago, and this is all I've heard. So I have not had time to check in with other neighborhoods.
Seeing no additional comments, I will take a vote. I guess the question is, those all in favor of KFNA signing, I guess really be the KFNA Board of Directors signing on to this, the letter that we have in front of us. All in favor, aye, thumbs up, yes in the chat. All opposed? And any abstentions?
Thank you.
Dave, you have the vote?
Yep.
Did you get it? Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Sarah, next item.
Yep. I hope this is the right link. I think I put in the link to the financial packet. So there, it would be great if everyone could open this. As a number of documents in here. some which might be useful for me to screen share, but I'm working on that right now. So I wanted to talk, it's the end of the third quarter for KFNA's fiscal year. And so this is the third quarter report of where we are financially. And so I wanted to look at those reports and then talk a little bit about other things that are happening in the finance realm. So if you look into the chart, or if you look into the folder, there is a fiscal year quarter 3 report. Let me see if I can screen share. I'm not sure I can. Does everyone have it open?
Mhm.
How about anyone who doesn't have it open, holler right now. Excellent. Okay. So the quarter 3 report that you're looking at is basically 2 financial statements. One is a budget versus actual, and one is a statement of financial position. So the budget versus actual, you'll see in the first column is our year-to-date spending. The middle column, called the total, was the budget that was approved by the board of directors last, probably a year ago, April. And then the third column is either the under budget or over budget line item. So the approved year budget, or the expectation of incoming finances, was $182,000. We're actually at $118,000 through year end. Of biggest concern here, or of biggest note, the city grant line item. I did just file a reimbursement report for $49,000, so we are not as off target as it seems. However, I do want to point out on line 11, or the 4,200 individual donations, that we are below target in individual donations from our end of the year giving campaign. So that is somewhere where we could pay attention to this year, including 4,600 product sales. We still have a ton of t-shirts in stock that it would be great to start moving as we start moving back to in-person events this year. If you scroll down on the report, you'll see that the expenditure portion, where we have most dramatically overspent our expenditures, is in the staffing line item. And I do want to say that this budget was approved to share staffing with Lindale only through December. And so it makes sense that now that that contract has been continued, that line item will have increased. And that's obviously the staffing and benefits and payroll taxes for Kenzie and myself. The other costs are all within line item. I'm happy to entertain questions, or we can look at the statement of financial position, which, if you look at that, basically just tells us we have a super healthy checking account right now and savings account with almost $291,000 in our banking account. And related to that is something I want to look at with you guys, which is the fact that we are fastly eating through our NRP reserves with the city. So partly this is because of the relationship we have with the Lindale Neighborhood Association right now, because Kingfield is carrying the employment contract. They're basically paying the salary for me to work for both neighborhoods and then getting reimbursed by Lindale, but that means that we are quickly drawing down our NRP reserves, and instead the money is going into our banking account. So there is another report in here that we can move to.
Sarah, I have a question about that.
Yep.
Quickly, is so especially about the kind of that. does that mean we're essentially converting NRP dollars into like unrestricted funds?
Yes,
Got it.
yes.
That was going to be my question too, just clarifying that, and that's
Right.
that's a good thing, question mark. I mean, if anybody has some analysis here, I mean, those funds
Didn't we vote on
do
that?
not, what'd you say, David?
Didn't we vote on it?
Yeah, I think they're asking more the mechanics of it. Yes,
Oh.
it is a good thing.
Okay,
Yes, it is a good-
We are encouraged to be closing out our NRP contracts, of which we have 3. So I want to look at those with you. And I think that as we look towards spending those, we also need to recognize that they're not going to sit there forever. So converting them into cash that can come in different ways is a good idea right now. So the other report in here, and I just added this, it's called City Contract Report Modified by Me. I'm going to see if I can share it. Hold on. I hate doing screen shares. How about this? Can someone else share the city contract report and I can just talk about it? Oh, wait, maybe I can do it this way.
Do you want me to, Sarah?
Yeah, I maybe can do it this way. I had the document up.
Does that work?
Okay, that works well enough for me. So this is a super abbreviated report, but so on page 1 you'll see basically that we have 3 NRP contracts still existing with the city. One we refer to them by their numbers, which mean nothing to you guys, but 14923, 25257, and 24718. They were all initiated at different points, and they cover different strategies. In red at the bottom, through reporting, and please note that the 2 smaller ones, so 14923 and the 24718, are more approximations because we haven't cranked dollars all the way to the end of the 3rd quarter. 25257 is accurate with the amount remaining in that contract. So there is approximately $216,000 still remaining in NRP funds for the neighborhood. If you can click on the 2nd page, I think, Chris, I just changed this. The 2nd tab.
Yeah.
Right. So here you can see this more clearly. So the yellow is tracking one contract, the green is tracking another contract, and the blue is tracking the 3rd. And then you can see which strategies money was put in on, and at the very end, under a letter I can't read, PQRS, are the approximate dollars still remaining in that strategy line. And why I want to point this out, it's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. This is money that can be moved. This is money that through a plan mod of $25,000 or lower can be moved with an e-news notice and a motion by the board. If it's over $25,000, it needs to go to the entire neighborhood. But as we look at what things do we need to do in the neighborhood, these are like the strategy names and the projects where money could be put and pulled from. Are there questions on this? Okay. The 4th column, which is the white column, I just want to point out for the last time, CPP is completely done for the city. It's a closed program at this point. This is a program that KFNA was getting about $54,000 a year from the city for, that pretty much kept KFNA functioning at a fairly healthy level. So a couple of things have changed. Chris, are you able to share the snapshot, the picture from the file? So this is the budget that is our calendar year for this year from the city. So it's a $28,500 budget. So it's half of what we have received regularly. And next year, the anticipation is that this will be $10,000 less. So what this has affected, Chris, if you want to jump out and open the, sorry to make you do this for me, the Q3 pie chart for this fiscal year. Sorry, super slow to load here. There should be a graphic there. Can the rest of you see a graphic?
No, it's
In your
coming.
file?
It's just,
Loading.
it's coming. Give it a
It's
sec.
coming. So I put in a historical pie chart just for you guys' reference, because this is what I'm used to pie charts looking like. And I put in one, I think, from 2018, but it could be 2017, it could be 2019. What shifted as KFNA has fewer dollars to spend is we are spending less time, obviously, and a much greater share on administration and much less time on projects. So if you want on your own time to go look at the 2018 chart, typically KFNA has been able to spend at least 50% on direct project work in the community. And the less money we spend, which makes sense, a greater share of that is spent on administration, which hasn't been helped by the fact that all of last fall we were filing reports for the city and creating new funding plans for them. But with less money to spend, this is a common scenario of what you're going to see. So in the scenario where there was a person and a half working for KFNA, that half-time person, the Cheryl, was able to spend almost all her time on project support, and I was able to spend about 50% of my time. So it just made up a lot more time. In our current funding scenario, most of my time is on fundraising and on administrative work. And Kenzie has so little time with the neighborhood that we're just essentially having less contact with neighbors. So that's the reality of having less money to spend. Are there questions? Okay, seeing no questions, I think that's it in the finance packet. The small group conversation that the board's going to jump into at this point has to do about organizational structure, aspirations, and also looking at the idea of merging with other organizations and what opportunities that could bring or what challenges that might bring. I do want to say that KFNA has heard, we just heard it within the last couple of weeks, that we've successfully received 2 partnership grants. So we'll be moving forward working on our joint neighborhood South Nicollet Corridor Pollinator project with Tangletown and Lindale, and we'll also be moving forward working on discussing a merger. And that's sort of what would it mean to merge, or what could the structure look like with those same organizations. So those 2 grants were just approved to be shared between the 3 groups.
What are the dollar amounts on those grants, Sarah?
The pollinator grant is a $40,000 grant, and the The merger conversation is a $20,000 grant. They're both very quick timelines. I think they both need to be completed within a year. The merger one possibly sooner than that. And neither of those are being run through Kingfield, which is
And
also
who are the three groups?
Tangletown, Kingfield, and Lindale.
Okay, the stack.
Yeah.
Or yeah, cool.
The South Nicollet corridor.
Cool.
Who is that pollinator grant through, Sarah?
The Board of Soil and Water Resources, Bowser.
Okay. And then the partnership grants, the City of Minneapolis grant.
Correct. Correct. And Tangletown applied for that because that's the grant that we applied for last year with Lindale that is helping to support Kenzie's position with both neighborhoods. That's how we are able to have her for as much time as we do, because otherwise, if you look at that snapshot, her staff hours without that grant would equal about $6,500. So this grant is able to afford her to be closer to 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours a week.
Okay. Anything else, Sarah, on staff update stuff?
The only other big staff update I have, and I'll email this to you after, is we just sent to the printer the first South Nicollet newsletter communication piece. I'm super excited about it. You'll see that, hopefully, if you get the Southwest Connector in your house next week. And then I'll just share the digital version with you all. And then from a communication standpoint, because we don't have an active environment or green committee right now, I will be actively recruiting for neighbors to serve on the pollinator grant planning, a project planning team, so a short-term planning team. So if that interests any of you, I would love to have a board member or two represented on that. Please let me know. We've also talked in the merger group that we want to limit the representation of each organization on that to 3 board members. So if that interests you, please let me know about that.
Sarah, what did you say? Did you say something about green? What was that?
Well, in the past, we've had a green committee that normally a grant like a pollinator project would fall under, and I will email all of them. The committee has always acted really on sort of like a grant-inspired basis.
Okay.
So when there's a grant, the gardening people come out, or if it's a composting grant, the composting people sort of come out of the woods to do it. So I'll be doing a call, basically to form a project planning team. Are you on it, Todd?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay. Sarah, are we good to move on to,
Yep.
I guess you talked a little bit about merger discussion.
Yeah, so if you want to kick it off and share the documents that you worked on, that would be great.
Yep. So I'll just say, this isn't coming, hopefully, as a surprise to anybody. We've been talking about the potential for, and as I said at kind of the top of the meeting, the potential for a merger or how we kind of create a sustainable organization going forward. As Sarah presented with some of the financials, obviously you can see with decreased dollar amounts from the city comes a need for different models, for different ways of pulling in dollars if we want to continue to do the things we are doing now. So with that said, we thought it would be really great to be able to bring in all the board members into a discussion like this and say, kick off kind of a, what would this look like? What are you thinking? How is everybody feeling? I've written, you see there's 2 kind of documents in there, group 1 and group 2. Sarah, maybe if you wanted to prep breaking folks up, that would be awesome.
Yep.
The idea was breaking folks up into 2 groups. These are really more guide questions, right? That I think that we wrote quickly to kind of. But the idea of this is to say, hey, what do you think about a potential merger with another neighborhood organization? What are some things that excite you about that? What are some things that are concerning about that? What are some things that we should make sure that we, if that were to go forward, we hold on to as a Kingfield centered organization? What are some things that maybe we don't care as much about? So both sheets are in there. So if Sarah, you wanted to break folks up, I think we'll break up into groups and plan on spending I think I have about 30 minutes in here for this. That time always goes by so much faster than we think it's going to. And I have a lot of questions in here. So feel free to take on what you think is the most important. You'll see my last question, which got a little punchy, but it was essentially just like, what's the vibe check? Like, how is everyone generally feeling about this, right? So that we can kind of know, I think, both as an executive team, as staff, as a board overall, how we're all feeling, and then how much we pursue this, how much we pull back, how much we look at different strategies, those sorts of things. And I think the goal of this discussion is to kind of give that check to us as board members to see, okay, what are the next steps and how do we want to proceed?
So just a reminder that we don't record small group sessions. So please designate someone in your group to take notes. And I'll be popping back and forth between the two groups.
Awesome. Do you have the groups?
I'm working
who's
on
in one, two, Sarah?
Pardon?
Do you have them labeled just so we know which one to go into?
It's group 1 and group 2. Do you want to know who's in them?
No, I don't. No, that's good. I make sure I know which one to click on.
Okay. Here we go.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Hope that was a good discussion and we had enough time. We never have enough time, it feels like, for these discussions. But I hope that was at least a good kind of kickoff as we kind of were closing our discussion. Kind of, this is more of a kickoff of this discussion. There's going to be no voting happening today on any of this, right? We're not deciding here now, but it's more of kind of starting this discussion, getting board members kind of thinking about it so that we can be ready when when a decision eventually needs to be made about the direction of the organization here going forward in the future. So I guess I'll maybe open it up to everybody. Any last comments or additional comments, anything anyone would like to say at the closing of your small group discussions? Anything you would like to say, Sarah LR, when thinking about mergers?
No, I think this is just the beginning of the work, and I think it's going to take a lot of thought and time.
Yeah.
From every group about what they're looking to get.
Yep.
So.
Okay. And I'll just say this, I think I said this in another meeting when we were talking about this, maybe it was an executive committee meeting, but I just want to recognize too that for staff, these are interesting discussions, right? And I think as a board, we need to also recognize that Sarah, who's on this meeting right now, this is her livelihood, right? And we are making decisions, right, about both our staff currently and our staff going forward. And I think, we need to recognize that that Sarah's like the work that Sarah's put in to this neighborhood organization over the last 20 years. And then what this is going to look like going forward. So Sarah, I just want to say I appreciate your like openness and willingness to have these discussions, because I don't think, when we talk about mergers, and I think I said this maybe when we were meeting with Tangletown, when we talk about efficiencies essentially mean that we're combining staff responsibilities. And so we need to be open and honest and transparent about that. And that's going to mean a change in staff. And, so again, it's just something to think about. It's not the fun part to think about with this sort of stuff is what the future could hold and what the efficiencies could be and how we can be an organization going forward. But there are going to be some really hard decisions that are going to have to be made eventually going forward. So again, Sarah, I appreciate it. And, this is going to be a long discussion. So
Thank you.
with that said, kicking over to the next item, I believe, Josh, you're up, I think, for strategic planning update. Did you volunteer to do this? Okay.
Yep, I agreed to fill in for Katie, who could not make it. I posted a link into the chats in the board packet folder as well. This is our latest draft of the mission statement. At our last meeting, we got some feedback on our previous draft, and we took all that, a lot of good ideas, and we met again and have developed what we, assuming there's no dramatic pushback from the board tonight, what we intend to share with the community for feedback from the community. Our intent then, after we get some community feedback, would be to put together a final draft for the board to act upon at the May board meeting. And then at the annual meeting, just a few days later, we can share the final mission statement as a big reveal at the annual meeting. Happy to answer any questions. I would say probably the biggest change was we did rework the structure a little bit based on some of the feedback we got. So the mission statement was very wordy. The mission statement section itself was very wordy before. We moved a lot of that to the guiding principles and kind of fleshed out those guiding principles a bit more, since we got some feedback before that people were not sure what that section was doing, and after we looked at it a bit, we agreed. So we hope this new version more clearly communicates what that section of the document is. Yeah, and I think at this point I'll just open it up to questions.
The one thing I will add is we updated that section to call it guiding principles. I don't believe it was called guiding principles before, to align with how we currently have our kind of our about us section. We currently have a mission statement and then guiding principles, and we felt that was a good alignment, was to continue with kind of that statement of guiding principles, but modify them in this way, and then also add the strategies. So. Maybe if everyone wants to take a minute or two to review. And I also will just say that this is not, obviously, the board is not going to vote on this here. The board is going to vote on the final mission statement and guiding principles. So the opportunity will be had for board members to make kind of official recommendations or motions to change things. But I think maybe speaking for the strategic planning committee are more than welcoming input here and making that changes before this goes to the community.
Can I ask a quick question? We talked a little bit about this, I think, last month, but I don't know that, or it was identified, but I don't know how much we discussed it, just the part about organizational independence and sustainability. Can you talk more about what, or clarify what's meant by it? We're an independent organization. Is that like independent of the city?
Yes. Yeah, I guess maybe that's the shortest way to say it. I guess that's how that's how we were talking about it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, in some way, that's directly contradictory to the merger discussion, isn't it?
I guess the question would be from who, right? Independence from who, right? But yeah.
I guess just one semantical comment. The engaged and empowering community. It says the Kingfield Neighborhood Association seeks to build and sustain an organization that engages. I feel like it would be better if we said seeks to sustain and grow an organization. Just so that, you know.
I agree with that. I think that's good.
Yeah, and that appears in the DEI guiding principle as well, Chris. So if you want to make sure we make that change there as well. I think that's a good point. We're not building an organization, we already exist.
Any other comments from folks? Maybe everybody's gotten through this.
Well, thank you. You all obviously did a lot of work on this, so I want to commend you for doing a lot of really good thinking and work on this. Yeah, you can really see all the comments, discussion we had last time. The only thing in the just the mission statement itself, I'm just struggling with the word improve. Unfortunately, I don't know what to replace it with, but it just seems a little squishy, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
At our last strategic planning meeting, I think we met for an hour, Josh, right? And we talked about the word improve for 55 minutes.
Yes.
And we talked about improve the lives, because it used to be improve the lives, and then so it was literally our entire discussion. So
Interesting.
I would love, and then we essentially took all of the anything else besides the word improve out of that sentence, or out of that section of the mission. So if anyone had better suggestions on that, while also keeping it clear and concise.
Empower.
Yeah.
I dumped a language choice in there. I agree, improve is really weak because it's so subjective. So I just dumped some comments in for you guys to consider and think about. I think the mission statement should be memorable and short enough that everybody on the board knows it, you know,
Right, it can speak to it.
and can just say it. So shorter is honestly better, but
I don't mean to stir things up, but let me just ask. So I read through this and I read a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, sustainable, and the organization itself and the community, but I don't really read anything about a sustainable community. You know, our environment, you know, the place we live, you know, taking care of the land we live on and the houses we live in and the community it builds. I don't mean to throw that in at the last minute, but you know, a lot of the work I'm doing at the national level is we're talking about, you know, how important it is to invest in our environment and the place we live in order to sustain livable communities.
Maybe instead of improve the neighborhood, it's maybe to create a healthy, a vigorous, something to create community or sustain community. I'm not coming up with good words either, but
no, and I think it's hard. I just
making the neighborhood the object of that sentence.
the one thing I wanna push on, because this came up during the charter amendment vote, is a lot of people said the primary purpose of KFNA is to build community. And so by building community, a diverse opinion should never be offered, or an opinion that would create neighbors to argue with each other. And so I guess I would say, like, how do we say that the goal is to have a connected community that can debate differences and educate neighbors and allow for differing opinions while still working together to create, you know, one neighborhood or something like that. So that the idea of building community, I just feel like kind of kicked us in the butt 6 months ago.
Well, that sounds like a bunch of Minnesotans. We can't have community if we argue, but.
Yep.
So it almost feels also that the mission statement, to your point, Sarah, keeping it short is important for its memorability, but also it could drive decisions, or you could think about it. We're spending 4 words, and we don't need to do this here, but we're spending 4 words on saying the Kingfield Neighborhood Association creates, and then because really our mission statement should be to improve Kingfield by creating connections, building community, and fostering engagement, which is just a rearrangement, but we're trying to.
Oh, it tightens it though.
But it's what
I
our
like
mission
that.
is.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it really tightens it. That's good, Dave.
Can someone type that?
I'll just type it right here, Josh, if that's okay.
And so I'm wondering if something else in there that's like encouraging debate or
Open engagement, fostering honest engagement. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you feel like the word debate or that spirit needs to be in that mission statement, I'll certainly let the
I'm just
strategic planning
whether
committee.
it's debate or education or discussion or
Or sorry, it's not.
Well, I think, I don't know that we want to spell out everything. I certainly understand your point, Sarah. I don't know that we want to.
Whatever you want.
I don't know that you can have an engaged community that can't have difference of opinion.
I see that as in the guiding principle, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That diversity of opinion is part of what we foster.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Chris, can you clarify, or Chris or Josh, can you clarify for us? So just what the process is from here? Because we're providing some feedback right now. And then we can also do that between now and the next board meeting. Is that right?
So our goal is to get a mission statement out to the community. So it looks like there is a lot of feedback right now. So I think we might want to get the committee together again to review this feedback before we put a final draft out to community. And at that point, anyone in the community can make comments to us, certainly including board members. And then at the May board meeting, we'll be taking final action. There certainly could be last minute tweaks to the wording at that point as well. But that would be the point at which we would actually adopt the mission statement.
And you're saying at the May board meeting?
Correct.
Okay. And so how are you seeing this getting out to the community in between this meeting and the May board meeting?
Chris, do you want to talk more about what some of our plans were for that?
Yeah, I think we got good feedback from this from the last in our last discussion, but I think a lot of it was including like flyering, survey, QR codes, Facebook, website, directing people to say, hey, this is what we're proposing. Please provide feedback on this. So that was, and I think our committee is committed to leading that, Sarah. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying with a concern that we're on a late board meeting, we're on the 13th, and I don't know what the date of the May is, but I'm guessing we might be in a 3-week time window already. Because the annual meeting is the 14th.
It's the 11th. The 11th is the second Wednesday.
14th. It's the 14th.
14th
No, I
is
mean,
the annual meeting.
but the board meeting that month would be on the 11th.
We're not doing a board meeting that month, are we?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I thought we normally didn't do a board meeting in the month of the annual meeting, right?
It varies.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I think every time since I've been on the board, I don't think we've had one with the annual meeting, but maybe I'm wrong.
So since we're running out of time, and I want to make sure, I want to make sure that we actually save time for kind of the update for recruitment and the annual meeting. I think this has been really good feedback. What I would maybe propose that we do is strategic planning gets together very quickly after this, reviews this, puts a quick email back out to the board that says, hey, this is what we're proposing with this feedback that we've gotten. And then if everybody could chime in with any kind of major issues that they have. And then again, this will go to the community for feedback, and there'll be another opportunity to make adjustments and changes to language. So
it would just be great if you guys could get me sort of a timeline of outreach techniques, because Kenzie's going to be outdoor knocking. We have our e-news. We just printed our print things, so we don't have another print publication going out, sadly. If we need a flyer created, we should talk about that. So.
Yeah, I would think, Josh, that we could probably meet this week would be my thought. I don't know what Brighton's schedule, but yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for the feedback, everybody, and thank you for the notes. I guess this document will still be open if folks want to add more notes in here as well too as they think about it. But expect something back from us here in the next couple of days. So, thank you on that. Lost my agenda. We're only 10 minutes behind, but can I kick it over? David, you're on here for annual meeting and recruitment update.
Yeah, annual meeting, Saturday, May 14th, 1:30 to 3 at Butter. We need volunteers to talk about the 2021 accomplishments. So if anyone wants to volunteer, speak up. I would, but I may not actually be here. It's still up in the air. But yeah. Anyone?
I guess I volunteered strategic planning, I think in that other document that Sarah had to talk about the survey. And I guess I feel like we should talk about the mission vision or the mission statement. So
Right.
I'll volunteer, maybe not myself, but at least strategic planning will at least take that probably as a group. So.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the annual meeting.
Do we know who is leaving the board and who from the current board is planning on running again?
I'm looking for BJ, but he's not here.
Not here.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think we know in terms of who is up for reelection.
Mm-hmm.
It is David S., Jerome, L'Oreal, Katie B. Who am I forgetting? There's 6 people. Chris.
Yeah, Chris, yeah.
All of those people have terms that are expiring. And Becky.
Good memory.
Thanks. Trying to be BJ.
Yeah, that was impressive.
But
That's
I don't
hard.
have a good handle on who all is seeking reelection or not.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to state that, I don't want to put anybody on the
Well,
spot.
I mean,
There's
we
still
haven't-
time to decide. But if anybody has any thoughts, feel free.
And then I would like to say that on May 4th, which is a Wednesday before the board meeting, Sarah Cheetah is going to host an hour-long morning at Butter meet and greet. So if you know people who might be interested, and David R. is going to host an hour-long lowbrow evening meet and greet that same night. I put times in the newsletter. I don't remember when they are, but it would be nice to have a second there, you know. So I would say if any of you can commit to being with them, that would be great. And then if, as you find neighbors who might be interested, encourage them to come to lowbrow with you or come out for coffee with you that morning.
I don't know if I can say it while I'm being recorded, but I will buy you a beverage if you come join me.
I'll show up.
If anyone else wants to come, you get a.
No.
I will say that those have been those. So thank you guys for doing that. Those have been incredibly effective in the past and are also just fun in both recruiting people, meeting people. We've had good handfuls of folks come out to those. I know Alice, when you held one, I believe I feel like I've lost all track of time. Maybe that was 2 years ago or something, right?
It was early 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of folks at your house, which was awesome. So yeah, thank you guys for doing that. That's really great.
And so we will start now that everything's in print and coming out on the 21st in the paper through the Southwest Connector. We'll also start ramping up both of these in Facebook events and in e-news as like individual events. And door knocking will start. So Kenzie will be bugging you guys to go out and door knock with her, and probably either on your block or in target areas, depending on what you're willing to do. But it would be great to have a board member with her, you know, for those 2 or 3 door knock evenings that she's willing and able to do the last week of April, first week of May.
Any other comments or questions about annual meeting stuff? Seeing none. Moving on to committee updates, I wasn't sure. I took strategic planning and recruitment off of this because I assumed. But Sarah T., was there something you wanted to speak about for renter engagement? I feel like I saw something, but then okay. I just want to make sure. Cool. Any updates from fundraising? And I believe was the redevelopment one you wanted to talk about for Grant, Sarah? LR?
Does it just say redevelopment? Yeah.
I'll maybe I'll maybe go, Todd, do you want to talk fundraising first, and then we can talk?
Sure, I'll be quick. So I know Sarah's been working on queuing up Porch Fest. We need to connect, our committee needs to connect with her and get some defining tasks done, prepare for that. I think there'll be an outreach to the board to help out with Porch Fest. We need to strategize a little bit of a formal fundraising strategy around Porch Fest, which will then morph into Stage Fest for the fall. And then also the only other thing I have an update on is Becky and I are planning on hosting a progressive cocktail dinner event at her house and my house, either June 18 or 25. We'll identify that as soon as she returns from vacation. If anybody else wants to make a third stop that evening, please step up, let me know. But we'll figure it out. And I got a feeling we'll probably end up at my house somehow. It'll be a fundraiser, so get out your checkbooks. I promise to have a little bit of entertainment, at least some decent food and good liquor. So it'll be fun. It's meant to be fun. So that's all I got.
And then I'll add the note that the pancake breakfast event recap was in the packet. BJ tossed it in, I think, yesterday before he left town. So the numbers are in there. Dave, do you want to talk at all about that event?
Real quickly, I'll actually talk about this document BJ created. It is awesome. It also, I think it's, I hope how we sort of debrief all events. Because as somebody who was at the event and worked it, I'm like, oh, this is great. But it looks like we brought in about $1,200 minus $100 in fees, and that's split half and half with the park. It was a great event. So thank you for everybody who volunteered to help. And thank you for everybody who came out and ate pancakes. I cannot wait for this to happen again next year. And I know that, we are telling a lot of people that it is first annual, and I think we'll have a much bigger, draw in 2023.
David, thanks to you, man. You flipped all the pancakes. You did a fantastic job. And you looked really good doing it too.
I had the easiest job. But no, everything kind of came together well with logistics and, the partnership with the park and Peter there is awesome. So, read this document.
Yeah, so good.
And if people have feedback on, one thing that I know that we'll be asking about for next year is feedback on pricing structure and promotion. This was something that we felt, when we signed up for it 2 board meetings ago, and it was just almost 1 boarding meeting, just 4 weeks or 6 weeks out. I wonder what we can do to promote it again or pick another year or, next year's date. But yeah, also then, so promotion and what to charge people, I think is things that we want to learn more about. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
My favorite
1,200 looked great. That's amazing.
to argue with the staff time allotment in the document. I think that's great.
Pardon?
Yeah, it says 16 hours of staff time, and it says, although it could be argued that some of this was also for the staff tap, like the sign up genius. I love it. It's great.
Okay, anything else? Did you have anything else for redevelopment, Sarah?
Just the walk and talk tomorrow.
Okay.
And you're on deck?
Yep, I'll be there.
Okay. So walk and talk with Public Works kicks off at 40th and Grand at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Chris will lead it. I believe all 3 people from the city Grand Avenue team will be there. At least a dozen neighbors will be joining you, if not 24. I have to sort the emails. And my plan is to meet you at the corner, sort of meet and greet people, and then I'll probably ditch off and deal with other stuff and let you do the walk. So some people will be joining you along the way.
Okay, cool.
I will be there.
Awesome. Thanks, Alice. I'll be there with a 6-year-old too. So if you if you want to meet a 6-year-old who, you know, she'll probably, I'll make, if you come, I'll get her to draw you a picture there. That's my motivation. Okay, cool. Closing, looks like we have a little bit of time left, so we made it. Anything else on those updates? Just want to give any questions or anything else from board members? Okay, seeing none. Closing shares. It looks like, because both BJ and Becky aren't here today, that I am going first, and I am underprepared. I will say I am excited for new weather and it getting a lot nicer out. I am getting into my busy season here. So I'll say this, if you go out in parks and see a lot of stuff going on with construction, especially on regional trails and going around to all sorts of things that are getting fixed, please be patient. And you can direct emails to me. If you want to plan a court and it's under construction, you know who to send it to. So yeah, it's going to get really busy for us here in the parks. And I also say, it's exciting. Everything is opening back up this year. So you're going to see rec centers opening back up. You're going to see programs. You're going to see pools.
Good.
We're going to see drinking fountains. So, you know, pretty much, you know, over the last 2 years, kind of been kind of some change in things. There'll be some really, everything will be kind of back up and in full swing. So, yeah, that's my, I guess, a work and also community update. L'Oreal, you are next.
Perfect. Sorry, my camera's off because I feel uncomfortable right now. But I only have 3 weeks of school left for this semester, and I'm taking the summer off for the first time. So I'm very excited about that. And I started a new position at work. So that's exciting too.
Awesome. Congratulations. Sarah T.
I've just been really enjoying seeing the progress on the new apartment building going up behind Butter, and then the building going up on, 36th and Nicollet. That has been empty for so long. It's just, really exciting to see it coming along. And every time we go by there, my oldest kid talks about can't wait. She can't wait to meet the new neighbors that are going to move in there. So I feel like that's really precious. And then I just noticed too that construction's happening on Blaisdell too. So I think that they are, I can't remember exactly what's going on with the project, but extending a boulevard protected bike lane there. So that is really exciting too.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Todd, you're up next.
I happened to end up at Tenant that has opened a new sidebar. And if you haven't been there, they have $10 cocktails and I can walk home and it's really nice. So it's a really nice addition. I know it's not in the neighborhood, but it's worth walking to. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. David R.
We got this is actually an old update. We got a puppy, like a new puppy 2 weeks ago, or 2 months ago rather. And that's been a lot of fun, but also a lot of work. So I've got 2 giant hellhounds now. Chris, I think, and Dave, you both have seen my one giant dog. This puppy is going to be even bigger. Maybe not as tall, but like bigger. And yeah, it's been fun. It's kind of a fun thing to do in the springtime, get you outside. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, David. David S.
I guess I'm still so excited about pancake breakfast, having Sarah and Kenzie. My wife got to help out, and then BJ and I, and then Brad and Todd working the door. It was awesome to have. It was a pretty perfect event. So it's my update.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Brighton, Katie, Alice.
I had a fun experience. This wasn't quite in the neighborhood, but it was in the neighborhood. I happened to be out for a walk at about the same time the kids were coming home from Barton. And having lived here a long time, the change in the structure of the making it a community school, it was really fun to see all the dads, in particular, walking home with their kids and their kids just playing. I don't know that this is going to be the best new strategy for the whole city, but it just seemed like a really enhanced experience for those of you who have kids school age and are able to walk to their neighborhood school. It was pretty cool to watch. We have a lot of new neighbors moving in too on our block, so a lot more people we'll have new people to engage. One couple was a renter and they've bought a house. So turnover is starting to happen too. Doesn't happen all that often, but it's starting to happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Alice. And I walk by your house 3 days a week coming home from school.
I bet you do.
6-year-old. Jerome.
All right, got stuck there. I couldn't find the mute. Not much to share. Also, I guess kid related, but I've just really enjoyed the fact that the weather has been mild enough that my kids actually get to play outside, and we also have some new neighbors on our block, and they've got some young kids too. So it's been fun for them to get to enjoy their community in a different way this early spring. But that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerome. And Josh.
So as we mentioned at the last board meeting, Katie Blanchard and I hosted some Charter Commission info session meetings. Those went very well. Far more people wanted to hear about the Charter Commission than I anticipated. So it was a pleasant surprise. And at the last Charter Commission meeting, the city clerk reported that 53 people applied. I don't think we can take all the credit for that, but maybe some of the credit. So a lot of people getting engaged in the city. And I know there's also a lot of other boards and commissions open right now. So if anybody wants to get more civically engaged, now is a good time to do that.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thanks, Josh. Sarah LR.
Okay, I've mentioned it 3 times during this meeting, but I'm super excited that we have at least a 1-page English and Spanish flyer coming out after 2 years of COVID to the neighborhood in the Southwest Connector. And the 2 other exciting things, the park board reached out to me today and has all of the fruit trees ready to be planted added to the orchard at King Park. So I'll be calling out for a planting date for our tree team. Anyone who wants to join and learn how to properly plant a fruit tree is welcome to join in on that, probably in the next couple of weeks. And we also applied for a Minneapolis parklet to be in front of the office this year. So I'm super hopeful that we will be able to have that added on the street engagement space.
That's awesome. Do we know what fruit trees we're getting, Sarah?
So they're doubling up. We have 2 different varieties of pears, so they're putting in a couple pears, and the sour cherries did really well. So they're adding a few more of those. I think I asked them to stay away from the apples, which are just pickier to deal with. So we have a couple plum trees, but they're all off in an area. So I haven't seen the planting plan. Basically, they're fitting in a row in between the 2 rows that we currently have.
Cool. Yeah. The sour cherries at MLK inspired me to get a sour cherry in my backyard. I love it.
In fact, I'm cutting mine down as soon as it warms up and planting new ones because they do well really quickly, and mine are 30 plus years old and not producing anymore.
Yeah, we love ours.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, well, it being 9:01, thank you everybody for the robust discussion. Look for some stuff from strategic planning here coming shortly. And again, it's always great to see and engage with everybody. So thank you all, and we'll see you around the neighborhood.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.